what we see now is that the voting booths are now being set up right behind the speaker's chair. I mean, beside it, and the officers to Parliament are now positioning these voting booths. I see that an officer of Parliament has raised a transparent box, showing it to the entire House to ensure for them to verify that it's actually empty. Has now been placed in front of the main bench where the clerk is seated, and the voting booths are now ready. In fact, the transparent box is also being sealed now. Is being sealed now, and is ready to receive the votes, the ballots. Now we know this is going to be by secret ballot. And so we expect that each member of parliament will have his name read out. He will take a paper, he will write on the paper the name of the candidate he's going to vote for, his nominee is going to vote for, which is going to be two, either Professor Michael Quay or is going to be Alban Sumani Babing. Now, the booths have been set up and the process is about to begin. Winston.
Exactly. And so the clerk would be calling the MPs, as is indicated, in alphabetical order. What remains to be seen, Evans? The clerk decided to continue and would wait to see if the Member of Parliament for Aston North gets called or not. But from the indication he gave, it looked like he wasn't going to call him. And it's also important to note what the reaction of the NDC would be. And I say NDC because there's been this whole back and forth about who becomes majority in Parliament, or who has the right to say that he's the majority in Parliament. Now, there's a bit of a departure from the 2005 situation. I'm still waiting to see if the whips would find themselves very close to the voting booth and thus be checking how the members of Parliament vote. Mind you, we have the general secretaries of the two main parties, that's the NPP and NDC, who have representation in this Parliament, 137 members each, all in the precincts of Parliament, and we'll be finding out what their own actions would be even as the voting begins. But I'll be monitoring to find out how close the whips would be, to the ballot box and the voting booth, just by way of finding out if they want to be checking how their members vote. And
I see this small meeting of several MPs happening around where the clerk is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of them have gathered, or a closer shot will tell us who is there. But there's some conversation happening right now as the voting booths are being set up and the ballot box itself has now been also prepped up for the voting to happen. But yeah, one of the key things we want to watch is it's important, Winston, that you brought that thing up. The fact that the names will be called, right? And also to show whether or not, and something that the clerk emphasized, that this is by secret ballot.
Yeah.
So if it's secret ballot, it's secret. Nobody. In fact, I was reading the standing order. The standing order actually prescribes how the ballot should be folded. It actually prescribes that the ballot should be folded in the manner in which nobody is able to see how you are voting.
Right.
So it doesn't just say cast your ballot. It doesn't say secret alone. It actually prescribes how you fold it. So you must fold it in a manner in which nobody sees whose name you've written. How you enforce that, for me, is the big question.
Well,
how you enforce that is a big question.
And talking about enforcement, happenings over the last few days and weeks would have shown that a lot of things are possible in our republic, aren't they, Evans? Lots of things are possible in our republic. So we saw it in 2005. Let's see what happens this time around, whether we have a similar situation. Because apart from 2005, when we had two persons, contesting to be elected as Speaker of Parliament, we haven't had that situation again. And so, yes, the clerk was very clear when he indicated that it's by secret balloting, and so nobody should see how you vote. But the question is, can the clerk enforce that particular law? Can the clerk enforce that standing order? And so members would vote in a secret manner. if members vote in a secret manner, then you ask yourself the question, is there a surprise, or would there be a surprise in all of this? We know it's 138, 137, 136, based on the decision on the Asin North Member of Parliament. We've told you the dynamics there are in this election. Would all NPP members, including the independent candidate, support Professor Michael Quay? Would all NDC members support Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagman? You've heard those who have made the point that, for those who belong to particularly the other side of the NDC, which Mr. Bagman has been critical of, they may just vote against. But let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, Elton, this is an interesting point. I just pulled up the standing order. The standing order actually doesn't prescribe the procedure for voting. It doesn't say the name of the MP must be called. What it says is, when nominations have been received, the clerk shall announce that the ballot will now be taken. And unless a member rises to speak, no fresh nominations shall be taken. Do we pass that state now? An officer of parliament shall give to each member present a ballot paper on which the member may record his vote by writing the name of the person for whom he wishes to vote. So what we expect to happen is that the officer of parliament shall give to each member present a ballot paper.
Yeah. Indeed.
Now, key question. Mr. Kwesi of Asin North, he's present.
Yeah.
He hasn't been removed from his seat.
Yeah.
He hasn't been. The standing order says, shall give to each member present.
But remember that when the clerk read the communication from the court, in his ruling he said that he does not recognize the presence of the MP elect. Now, the names will be called by the clerk. Usually they do it in order of, alphabetical arrangement. So I want to believe that he will not call the member of parliament elect for Asin North.
Asin, as per the procedure,
exactly.
He will not give a ballot paper to him,
meaning that he will not be called to come and vote. So basically, that's how it's going to play out, because he says he won't recognize him, and meaning that when the roll starts to be called, I don't see him calling him to come and vote. That is how I understand this procedure.
Now, what does each member present mean?
Yeah,
it's what we need to find now. So does each member present mean that anybody who is in the chamber, or anybody that the clerk deems to be qualified to vote? And that's one of the things I would want an understanding too. So if we have that clarity, for instance, then we know that, okay, so you could be in the house and still not be recognized by the clerk. And so what that would mean is that you are not present. But if I also look at it from another point of view, I'm saying to myself, well, once I am in the house and haven't been asked to leave, then I qualify to be able to cast my vote. So let's look at it in two ways. Can the clerk say, well, member of parliament for Asin North elect, pending the determination of your case as the court has ruled, please leave the chamber? And as a result, we would say you are not present. Because, Elton, you've been a parliamentary correspondent. When members show up in the chamber and in the votes and proceedings, members present, they are captured as present.
Of course.
Yeah.
So in that same, well, he's not a member yet.
He's not a member yet.
Not a member, it's a member elect. But once he shows up in the chamber, having gone through registration and still in the chamber, can he be considered as present as what would have been the case if he were a member of parliament?
Yeah, here's the thing though, and I think I side with what Elton has said. Per the procedure, for me, based on what he had said, that he will recognize him. It's all clear that when his officers, because we know that the parliamentary officers are now acting on his behalf, when the officers are distributing
the ballot
paper, right, they would skip him.
Yeah, he will not be called.
He will not be called. He will not be giving a ballot paper to cast his ballot. I presume that's what may happen. But there was another school of thought that said that they would have expected that he would be asked to leave the chamber.
Exactly, that should have been the case. Once the ruling was done, the next step would have been for the clerk to direct that because of the court communication and, subsequent to his ruling, the member-elect should leave the chamber. But because of the skirmishes that we have experienced, it doesn't appear to me that the member is still on the floor.
I actually don't think that it's in the interest of parliamentary peace and security tonight.
Yeah.
To actually attempt to move.
If you do not respect the orders of the clerk, the next stage will be for the clerk to direct the marshal to get you out of the chamber of parliament forcefully. And that is what I'm expecting to be done. But in terms of how the election is going to go, clearly the member will not be called, the member-elect will not be called, and once he's not called, you cannot vote. The voting itself has yet to start. We don't know what is stopping them from going ahead with this very important exercise. But as far as the member is concerned, he will not be called, he will not be given a ballot, and for that reason, he will not have the opportunity to take part in this voting process.
Yeah, what we are seeing now is that I see Muntaka Mubarak in a conversation with the clerk and his assistants right now. Nobody knows what that conversation is about, but the stage is set, Elting.
Yeah.
Because the voting booths, there are two of them.
Everything.
The two of them have been set, the ballot box is set, and yet the voting hasn't started. What the next thing we need to see should be the officers going around and giving and presenting the papers to the MPs.
Yeah, usually they call you, and then once they call you, you move to the clerk's table, and then you are given the ballot.
And you give the ballot.
Either you write the name or you tick against the name of your preferred candidate, and then you drop it in a ballot box. Once that is done, then they move to sorting and counting. But now, they are not even calling them to come out and vote. I think the process can only start if they start calling them to come and pick the ballot paper.
Yeah.
If you are called and you don't honor that call, then you lose the opportunity to take part in this. And I think that perhaps the clerk is not showing a lot of, power in the powers invested in him in terms of giving directives and enforcing them. And even though he's giving his ruling as far as the legitimacy of this member of parliament elect is concerned, he's still entertaining comments from both sides, and that's what appears to be stalling the entire process.
And Elting, let's point out that the clerk of parliament at this moment has constitutionally invested powers.
Right.
And the power that he has, as specified by the constitution, is to supervise, sit in the chair, and supervise the process of electing a speaker. Only he can do that.
Right.
And so that power is vested in him. And as we see now, we don't know what is stalling the process.
Yeah, we don't know.
But he has the power to order the process to proceed. Once the nominations have been done and both seconded, and nobody else rises to make any other, put forward any other name, he should go forward. Now, we have the stage set.
And I'm seeing some movement of the
yes.
NDC MPs. I don't know whether they are staging a walkout or because I just saw the minority leader is heading towards the division room. And I see Muntaka Mubarak, a member of the Ato Forsen, and the rest also appears to be following him out of the chamber. But once the process starts, the thing is that if you are called and you don't honor the call, you lose that opportunity. Unfortunately, the clerk has asked that members should come and pick the ballot, but he's not calling names.
Yeah, we don't know what is holding up the process now. Just that all we can tell you, if you're watching us on TV, you see this for yourselves, but if you are listening to us, all we can tell you is we see the leadership of both sides now in a very heated conversation with the clerk and others, and the people are gesticulating. It almost, I don't know, I wonder whether it's a conversation about where to position the boots or because I see a lot of pointing of fingers at the positioning of the boots. And here again, I see the Interior Minister have also approached, has gone to add to the numbers there who are have in this exchange with the clerk. Winston.
Exactly, and for many of us, we're waiting for the processes to start. And I mean, like you're asking, I see them pointing at the booth.
Exactly.
So it's but that place has always been a preferred location. Indeed, the last time I witnessed such an exercise, members had concerns with the fact that the media center, which is overlooking where the booth is, if you're a media person and you are standing there, you can easily tell the direction the person will vote. So they had concerns with that. So what they did was that they told the media to move out of the media gallery and allow the process to continue. But where the thing is sited, that's always been the place. Unless they are concerned
exactly, but I mean,
the location of the booth.
You would remember that in 2005, while they were voting, you saw the leadership of both sides very close. You understand, and
of course
they were monitoring the process.
Even now, that's what I'm told, that the whips, they have a responsibility to ensure that they check the ballot before it is dropped into the box. I don't know how they are going to do this.
That's the point, and that's why I started by saying that a lot of things are possible in our country, aren't they? Because you find the sadly, but you see, you find the situation where there's supposed to be a secret voting. Nobody is supposed to see how you vote. But hey, hold on a minute.
So as you can see, they are clearing where the media stand is.
Yes.
I'm sure the reason is that they think that the media people can tell which way it will go when the voting starts. So that's how come they are clearing the media gallery of the media personnel. So I'm sure that we are getting closer to where the voting itself will start.
Okay. So clearly that was the issue that was holding up the voting. The fear that journalists in the press gallery
can easily see
who you are voting for, and so if you're watching us on TV, you see that the press gallery, which is right opposite us, right opposite you, and behind where the clerk is seated, is being cleared now of all the pressmen who are there. And any moment from now, the
process will start.
Now here's the thing, though. It's almost 2:30 a.m.
Yeah,
fatigue is setting in. I'm feeling it.
So am I.
Of course. I mean, we've been here since 9 p.m. and we are now about to begin the first order of business, right? And remember, we have to do this 3 times.
That is, if the minority, no, not minority. Now we don't know the majority. Let me just err on the side of caution. That's if both sides decide to present a candidate for the first deputy speaker and second deputy speaker. You've heard the NPP side say that even though the NDC is presenting a candidate for the speaker, there's been lots of discussions, and some of them are saying, I mean, for the sake of consensus and allowing, the spirit of the Constitution to continue, let us not present a candidate. Others say, let's present the former MP as a second deputy speaker, because Joe Osei-Usu will be nominated for first deputy speaker.
Right.
If the NDC doesn't present a candidate for first deputy speaker, it does not look like the NPP would want to present a candidate for second deputy speaker. What that would mean is that the remaining elections would be procedural, just
and then we move on.
And then we go. What will be left then would be the swearing in of the president, which is dependent on when we're able to elect a speaker. But if the NDC presents a candidate for first deputy speaker, then we're going to have 3 elections.
Yeah, I mean, and with what we've seen, there's every possibility of that happening.
Because we got a confirmation from John Boadu when we spoke to him that they have selected Joe Osei-Usu as their first deputy speaker of parliament. And if, his reference was even to the fact that if the NDC should present somebody for such speakership, then the only option that will be available to them is to go in for the former MP as the second deputy speaker of parliament. But looking at the entrenched position they've taken, even relating to a court decision or a court order, nothing is impossible now.
Yeah, I mean, and from the NDC side, I understand they also had met in caucus and suggest and put forward Dominic Ayine
as the first deputy
speaker to rival Joe Osei-Usu. I mean, again, if that's the case, we're going to have another vote.
Exactly.
And this whole thing will play out again. I mean, we are nowhere near.
But one of the things
we had planned that this will end at 3 p.m.
Well, we have, but hey, here we are.
Evans,
the situation is this, Evans. And based on my reading of the Constitution and discussions with lawyers, what the Constitution sought to do, what our law sought to do when it said that when it comes to deputy speakers, the deputy speakers shall not be elected from the same political party, was to ensure the situation where political parties in Parliament had deputy speakers. And that was all to ensure consensus building and a thriving democracy. Now, based on that understanding, yes, it is true that the former MP is an independent member of Parliament. He's been sacked by the NPP, and so he's not a member of the NPP. However, now that he's decided to do business with the NPP side, if he's elected, which he can, he can, because we've seen it happening in the Freddie Blay, Malik Al-Hassan Yakubu situation, where Freddie Blay of the CPP was with the NPP majority in 2005. They nominated him as first deputy speaker, and Ken Jassa, who was with the NDC, was nominated, and then Malik Al-Hassan Yakubu challenged him. But yes, as Kojo Oppong said here, some of them feel that, look, that particular consensus building and the spirit of the Constitution should be made to stand. And that's why I would want a situation where consensus should work, so that whether the NPP may cede the first deputy speaker to the NDC or NDC does that, let consensus work, so you have deputy speakers from both NPP and NDC, and not just from, one side of the house.
Yeah. If there should be any talk at all, in terms of consensus building and then ceding a position, I can only see the NPP saying that, okay, we can give you the second deputy speaker. For the first deputy speaker, it will be a difficult choice to make. And clearly, I'm looking at a situation where the first deputy speaker's position will be contested between the two parties. But maybe for the MPP, they may say that even though we warn you, you came up with your own candidate, we still want to respect the Constitution and say that you can have the second deputy speaker. That is how I see it. But for the first deputy speaker, I see the MPP going all out, and they will make sure that they grab it as well.
Yeah, so we'll see all this, and the voting still hasn't started.
Yeah.
We're waiting to see if this happens very soon. But this is the stage that being set for this. Now, there are a few more things that are interesting, of course, that the standing orders prescribed. We know that in the past there's been a spoiled ballot, a case of a spoiled ballot.
It's happened before.
Yeah, and the standing order makes a point that a member can only vote for someone who has been duly nominated and seconded. In other words, if you write the name of Elton Brobe, that's a spoiled ballot, because the two people are not on the ballot, and that can happen. But I doubt very much if anybody would like to spoil the ballot there. But you can make a mistake. When fatigue sets in, you can write a name.
But if you make a mistake, and under the current circumstance, a mistake, if you have a mistake, would cost one side. But Evans, you're talking about secret voting.
Yeah.
And based on all the discussions we've had concerning national elections and how voting should be done, and the fact that if I decide to show you how I voted, you cannot take me on. And we've had that conversation prior to election 2020. I think same could hold for this. And so if they decide to show their whips how they voted, they've done no wrong. Because secret means nobody should try to see. But if I willingly say, Evans, Elton, this is how I voted, have a look.
Yeah.
I've done no wrong. You have done no wrong. I've only willingly shown you what I've done.
Except that in the national elections, nobody tells you how to fold your ballot. It's just a secret ballot, right?
Yeah.
But the standing order goes a step further. It says each ballot paper shall be folded so that the name written on it cannot be seen.
Yes, but you see.
Okay, but your point you make is a valid point. What you're saying is, what if I fold it so that you can see it?
Yes, I am saying I want you to see.
And then what happens? Who enforces that?
Exactly, I say I want you to see.
What is the penalty for disclosing my ballot?
Yeah, so that's the point, and that's why it wouldn't come to me as a surprise if I see that the whips are.
I think that there's calm in the chamber.
Yeah,
and we are getting ready for the voting itself. Somebody a few minutes ago went to check the voting booths and then the ballot box. So
this is going to be a long process because 275 MPs.
274 if the directive vote.
Exactly, 274 MPs. They finish casting the ballots. You have to bring in the boxes, pour out the content, and then sort first. Sort all Professor Magokwe, sort all Abamabin, and then you count.
And then
you declare the results. That's a long process. That should take anything almost an hour plus.
Yeah.
When you're done with that, we're going to see, because when it gets to, I expect that when they skip the Asin North MP, there will be another round of confusion.
Yeah.
will erupt, which then will delay the process a bit more. I mean, this is going to drag a bit. I mean, definitely. But we are here. We definitely have to be here and know what the outcome is going to be for this parliament. The House now seems very calm. There's something else that must be said, though, about the calmness you're beginning to see. You know what fatigue does to you?
Yeah. It makes you want to rush through things and get it done.
Yes. Fatigue can beat you to the point where you just want to get it done. The energy that he had an hour ago at 12 midnight when they started, they cannot have the same energy
for another round of fights.
for another round of fights. It's just what nature prescribes. And these are old men and women, many of them, right, who are well advanced in age, 40 plus. So I definitely expect by 3 a.m., which is like 25 minutes away, and counting, people will just want to get this done. Because tomorrow morning, well, it's morning already.
Yeah.
They have another business to perform by being sworn in the president.
Now, let me just tell you a funny story, just a brief one. You know, when we're covering election 2020, on the 7th of December, when I was waiting to, come on air at 5 p.m., I couldn't sleep. I was monitoring elections all over. Now, after the long night, till 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. when we left, nobody told me to sleep. Understand? Nobody's tired. What is tired? You will sleep.
You will go.
No, you still can't monitor elections when you're very, very tired.
And the anxiety and the build-up to this moment means a lot of them would not have slept for a while.
Right. Sure.
Okay, and that pressure, I'm saying, can cause people to make mistakes in the writing. Can cause people to just want to get this done and go home.
But I heard the clerk say that. He gave 2 conditions, right or tick. So I don't know which one will hold.
That is if they had already printed the ballot papers with the 2 names. Okay, so if they had been in caucus before they came to the floor, the leadership had told the clerk already that these are the 2 names. They would have then printed it. And then, but we don't know if that's the case yet.
Exactly, but one other thing I see. We see 2 booths, and I'm sure we'll have 2 ballot boxes also. From the previous experience. So what's going to happen is that the NDC side will vote, the MPP side will vote. So there'll be no sorting here. Once it's done, unless somebody from the other side votes for another person, but they'll check it again. But this will not be that difficult, like having
one booth.
One ballot box where everybody puts the paper in there or the ballot paper in there. And so you're checking to be sure that.
There are 2 candidates for the election of Speaker. Professor Michael Eronicque and Mr. Alban Shumani for Baghdad.
Okay, we're waiting the Clerk of Parliament to begin the process of mentioning names of members of Parliament to approach and take their ballots and go cast it in the box. That should begin soon. The drama of to cast your ballot should begin soon. What is clear though is I think I see Muntaka Mubarak still standing.
Yeah.
You see him still standing on your right side,
Right.
close to the where you have the clerks
Right.
standing. I don't know. Prayer is not in view yet. Not in view yet. But the positioning of Muntaka Mubarak is strategic. Right?
Yeah.
It's strategic.
Of course, Evans. I mean, this is very crucial, and these are human beings. These are MPs. And these are people who've been involved in elections before, and these are people who know some of the tricks that goes into elections because they themselves have been beneficiaries of some of these tricks. So there's trust is a big issue here. I mean, they may have been spoken to, they may have been whipped, but this is the decision time. And I know that in the run-up to this particular election, there were attempts by both sides to try to infiltrate the camps, both MPP and NDC. And I know also for a fact that that was basically one of the reasons why they decided to camp their MPs ahead of this particular program. They came, all of them came into the chamber together in a bus, and it was all done to ensure that everybody toes the line that has been assigned them. And that's the reason why Muntaka is stationed so close to where their members will pick the ballot, either write or take and then go and drop. Because trust is something that they don't want to play games with.
Yeah, I mean, there's an MP told me from the minority side that they actually told them that when this process begins, don't even go to the washroom. In fact, they said if you must, don't go alone. You need an escort. And he says, I asked him why. He says, well, we were warned that you can be locked up in the washroom when you attempt to go in there. And if you're locked up in the washroom, you're yelling, and nobody comes to open you. By the time you come, the voting is over. You lose by a vote.
Because once your name is mentioned and you don't respond, they'll move to another person.
Exactly. But you see where Muntaka was standing.
Yeah.
Now, for those of us watching on TV, the right side that you're talking about, that's actually where the NPP is. So you ask yourself, and I also saw Aveji, standing. I mean, he's walking to where the NDC is also. So I'm asking myself, is it any bit of, in particularly campus elections and NUCS elections and all of that, when you're going to vote, people are standing by and are whispering into your ears.
Somebody is carrying the ballot box.
Or checking, showing that it's empty.
Everybody see that there's nothing in there.
But that's an MP. It looks like it's disagreeing. The person disagreeing with something. They are back to some disagreement now still.
I think it's actually one ballot box here, so there'll be a bit of
one ballot box here.
So the thing is, they will mention two names. You pick, you go and vote, and you come and drop. I'm sure it will help the process to move fast.
Absolutely. The process has stalled again. I mean, a few minutes ago we thought this was going to begin.
Yeah.
Now it appears there's some more disagreement over what? I don't know. I mean, because again, the press gallery is beginning to fill up. It's beginning to fill up again after they cleared it. Which again, it's nobody knows what's happening. A lot of the members are pretty calm, waiting, looking up to their leaders to sort this out so they can get on with the process of voting on the matter. I mean, if you take out the Ascent North MP, this should be easy for the MPP to win. It should be. But whether it actually is, we don't know, because I'm assuming that they whipped everybody who won 137 from the MPP side to come to Parliament. I'm assuming that's the case.
They have a full house.
Now, so if that's the case, then they should win it. I mean, but I haven't seen the former MP. Have you? Has anybody seen the former MP today?
I haven't seen him, but I'm sure he would be in the house.
Yeah, but as to where he is and where he's seated, we haven't found that yet. Which is key, by the way, I think, tonight.
Yes, because at this stage, names are not attached to the seat, so anybody at all can pick any seat apart from the leadership role, which is clearly defined. So a while ago, when I went upstairs, I saw Kwadwo Ponkuma, who is in his second term in Parliament at the back seats, which is abnormal. because after your first term and your second term, you should be coming forward. Now, when I checked, they are yet to fix names to the seats because now they still remain elected members of parliament after the swearing-in ceremony. I'm sure tomorrow, when they are, later this morning, when they are done with the swearing-in of president-elect, by the time they get back to the chamber, all these corrections would have been made. Everybody will know exactly where their sitting positions will be. So, in terms of the arrangement regarding independent candidates, because the NDC MPs have already taken the right side of the speaker and then the MPP on the left side, usually an independent candidate will have to be slightly in the middle. Now, the thing with our chamber is that because it's not so big, you will find members from both sides missing in terms of the seating arrangement, because you can't find 137 on one side, 137 on the other side, because the chamber is just not big enough to have that demarcation. So even regarding the political parties and how they sit, they are messed up in a way. Just that you know that you are MPP, you know that you are NDC. So for the former MP, it will be difficult to at this very moment point out where he is seated. But obviously, because he decided to do business with the MPP, and he is not a first timer, he will definitely be in the mix of the MPP.
Yeah, let's get into what is going to happen shortly and the implications of it. I mean, all through the night, I've been struggling with minority leader, majority leader, because this is the 8th parliament, and there's
I see another confusion.
Something had just erupted. Muntaka Mubarak is almost in a fight with another member of parliament. Who is that member of parliament? I don't know. There's a fight that has just broken out between Muntaka Mubarak and I see Amewu in the shot there. So there's a fight that has just broken up. It has been broken up now. James Aveji, I see John Jinapo.
And there's Katie Hammond too.
There's Katie Hammond. So this has erupted again. It has erupted again. And this has to do with something they've been haggling over before the voting begins. And they're pushing each other. There's a lot of pushing and shoving. And strong words and gesticulating in the faces of MPs.
That's Dr.
Dr. Friye. He's very thick and tall, and he's using his size to push his way through the crowd now. I see Muntaka Mubarak holding the ballot box now. He's holding the ballot box, and I see a marshal. I see a marshal trying to drag the ballot box from him. On the floor of Parliament. Everything was calm until this sudden eruption in this chaos there. If you're just joining us on radio on Joy 99.7 FM, Parliament was just about casting the ballot for Professor Michael Quay or Alban Babing. The process had been laid out. Everything was set. Just a few minutes ago, there is an eruption in total chaos now, and the members of parliament from both sides are gathered around the area where the clerk of parliament is, and I see Muntaka Mubarak in the front there, and around them everybody's arguing. Everybody is arguing about something we can't tell you. The process even more. Now, I mean, all the members of parliament have left their seats, and they've massed up in front of the clerk of parliament. You know, this has left the process stalled, and else you can see there that the marshals are protecting the clerk's table. We are watching this unfold on television. And of course the process is stalled. I wanted to listen into the sights and sounds of the chaos that is unfolding on the floor of Parliament right now.
President Israel.
We like it. Keep wasting your own time. You have a president to swear in.
We shall pull pepper in your eyes. We shall show you. We shall put.
Who is saying that?
It's not a shame. I'm a member of parliament who doesn't understand what is.
Don't trust your own people. You want to rule Ghana.
Members of parliament, you don't understand secret ballots.
As for this stealing, it will choke you. As for this stealing, it will choke you. This stealing will choke you. You think you can steal this one too?
So we are still waiting for the ballots, the voting to start. The chaos is still unfolding on the floor. There is no indication that they are getting any resolution to this matter anytime soon. It appears to me, Elton, this is a fight over where to position the ballot box. And where to position the ballot box and the voting booths. And the desire or suspicion that somebody wants to inspect
the ballot before
it's cast.
Before it's cast. The numbers that we are talking about, the difference is so slim that I think that both parties are not allowing this thing to be business as usual. That's how come you have the whips ensuring that at least they have an idea how their members will vote. And the NDC, from what we are gathering, are not happy with where the ballot box is placed. And that is what is holding the election from taking place. And that may have been the cause of the confusion that we witnessed some few minutes ago involving Muntaka Mubarak and some other MPs. But whichever way you look at it, for the MPP side, they think that they have nothing to lose. They have no urgent business ahead of them. It is rather the MPP MPs that they have a president-elect to supervise his swearing in some few hours to come. So it is just incumbent on the MPP to ensure that this process goes through as early as possible. And that's what all of us.
It is either secret ballot or nothing else.
Honorable members, please be seated.
I mean,
the question about how, in what form the voting should take has been spelled out clearly. Secret ballot, there's no argument about it.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be secret. What I'm not sure of, who is insisting that this shouldn't be secret? Or is there suspicion that it may not be?
Okay, wait.
It appears to me that he has lost control of whatever is happening in the chamber because he's seated, he is not giving any directive. The MPs are left on their own to fight over whatever reason we don't even have clarity on.
And here's the thing,
appears to be very relaxed.
Nobody can help him. Nobody can help Parliament right now than the clerk. He's the most important, most powerful person in the House. He's the person. He's the only person in the House with any with a prescribed duty.
Yeah.
In fact, all the individuals you see there are not MPs.
They are not MPs.
They are members of parliament elect. They have absolutely no power. The only power they have now is the power that is exercised on the back of the clerk's duty.
Right.
Which is to elect.
Which is to elect.
Which is to vote.
Vote, and then getting the CJ to swear in the speaker
who they after they elect.
Yeah.
So all this that is happening, it is only the clerk who must stand up, strike the gavel, and say, this is what we are going to do.
Exactly.
I mean, and he's sitting down, he's lost absolute control over the process. He began to speak shortly before this chaos broke out. He should be striking the gavel, declaring what should be, this is secret ballot.
This is a secret ballot.
So anything else that gets in the way of secret ballot, and if that's a concern of the majority, the NDC, they have a point, because it has to be secret. He, the clerk, must make sure that it is indeed a secret ballot. All he needs to do, this is not the first time Parliament is voting.
At all.
And to be a clerk, you must have experience. And he's been there for a while. He needs to strike the gavel and announce what will happen and move on to do it. I mean, as to why he's seated, he doesn't appear concerned. I honestly have no clue what is happening to the process of voting. It's held. I mean, this
it's difficult to understand. You can even see some of
the
the MPs helpless in the entire enterprise, and I see the ballot box in the hands of one of the marshals.
They took the box away. They took the ballot box away. They are bringing it back. There's no direction.
There's no direction, and the clerk had. I mean, he has a duty to perform. You have set in motion the process for the voting. Start calling the names, and let's see if they will respond or not. But if we don't move from where we are to the next phase,
nothing happens.
Nothing
I mean, we are almost 3 a.m. LT,
and we are not even nowhere near. I mean, the process.
3 hours after this Parliament life was supposed to have begun, we are nowhere near beginning its life. And you know what? I pity Michael Quay.
Of course,
I pity
Alban
Babe
and the rest.
Very old men who are waiting. And by the way, the Chief Justice is also waiting.
Also waiting to perform his constitutional
to swear
duty.
in whoever is elected. And we are nowhere near this. By the way, initially I had some sympathy for the clerk in the heat of the debate about what to do with the court order surrounding.
Fading.
But now I've lost my sympathy for him, because the most contentious part, we've moved on from there. This is a simple case of directing where the ballot box should be and the voting should start. And he's allowed both sides of the divide to be in this argument in perpetuity. The ballot box has been moved and returned, and this chaos is still unfolding.
What I say is Jatro, who is a deputy clerk, who is trying to get both sides to respect whatever provision that is available to ensure a smooth conduct of the elections. And we don't know. I mean, Winston went up. You're just coming back. I don't know what you picked.
Well, so I think there's a bit of a confusion still on the Asin North bid, but also just before voting began, some of the, you could see some of the members picking up ballot boxes, ballot papers, and I'm told that they're showing how they're voting, and they're supposed to be a secret voting, and so people are, particularly the NDC side says, no, this should be by secret balloting. Nobody should see how you vote. So how come members of the NPP are showing it? But the exchanges were mainly between Mohamed Mubarak Muntaka and Dr. Ayew Afriye, as we saw when I went up there to the press gallery. That's the information I gathered. The fact that, so they were engaged in a bit of exchanges, and before anybody could see anything that happened, like we say in Ghana, they were pushing themselves, and that's how some of their members came in. But there's a lot of confusion about the whether or not the Asin North MP should vote. And while up there, I could hear some members of Parliament. I cannot tell which side that person was, but intermittently they turn on their microphones and speak, and you'd hear words like, or phrases like, we shall show you, we shall put pepper in your eyes. And some members tried, picking the maze of Parliament, and Elton, that's the authority of Parliament.
The authority of Parliament.
So once you pick it, that's it. And you can see, you see that on your screen shortly, that there's someone from the Marshal's department protecting it religiously just to ensure that nothing happens. So that's basically what's been happening in the chamber. Evans and Elton and all our viewers and listeners. Lots of issues up there. Also, we heard comments like, we will not vote today. And so what that means is that we're in for the long haul.
We're in for the long haul, definitely. I see Chairman San has moved in there too. Let's think it's 3 a.m. Whatever this is for them to start, they should start. But of course, we are nowhere near this even starting. Harun Idrisu, Chairman Sabungtu are currently locked in this heated argument with the clerk himself. And I see Katie Hammond has moved in too. All of them are gesticulating, and it appears it's a case of where's the best place to put the ballot box. I mean, and why is something as simple as this stalling such an important process in the election of the third most important person in Ghana? I mean, under the Constitution. I mean, this, again, I make a point. This, again, tells you what this 8th Parliament is going to be like. Everything is going to be contested.
Everything is going to be contested.
Even where to put the ballot box is a big issue. The standing order and the Constitution is clear. Secret ballot, and you're fighting over it. And these are members of Parliament who make the laws. They make the same laws that they're haggling over right now. They can't seem to agree. The clerk to Parliament is still seated. All he needs to do is to proceed with the process. He has the law on his side.
Yeah, and that's the more reason why he's in the chair.
He has the law on his side. In fact, the standing order's on his side. The standing order prescribes how the ballot should be folded. He should just make sure that it's done. I mean, I honestly have no clue why he hasn't accepted his authority. Now, all these other individuals in the House, they are individuals. None of them have any power
at all. I see the police clearing up, and hopefully we are getting to the stage where he will start call people.
Okay, let's listen to the clerk.
All members elect, kindly be seated. All members elect. So, honorable members, I just want to draw attention to, please be seated, honorable members. Please be seated.
We're still live on Joy 99.7 FM, live on the JoyNews channel. And again, we are back to the beginning, where the ballot boxes are being lifted again to show everybody that it's empty. Now, some semblance of order has now returned. All the MPs are back in their seats. An officer of Parliament is lifting the ballot boxes. Is that another prayer? No, the one to his... Is that another prayer?
Yeah. No, so that's Muntaka and another player at the far end. Yes. And I think the Juso MP-elect, John Kuma, is also, standing there close to the maze.
Okay. So we have the two whips standing. and they are going to be policing the process. They're going to be policing the process. So this is about to start now. Let's listen into the sights and sounds again. So anytime from now, we expect the first ballot to be cast.
Honorable members.
Okay.
Honorable members elect, I want to draw attention to Article 104 of the Constitution, which provides that, and I quote, where Parliament is considering a bill to amend the Constitution, or where the voting is in relation to the election or removal of any person under this Constitution or under any other law, voting shall be in secret. I'm therefore enjoined under Article 104 of the Constitution, as well as Orders 9(1) and 110 of the Standing Orders, to proceed to conduct the election by secret ballot. Honorable members, please be seated. Honorable members, I also want to draw attention to the fact that I have duly notified the honorable member-elect for Asino of the court processes and injunction. And I am aware that Parliament is thereby not responsible for his conduct. I would want to draw attention to Article 105 of the Constitution. It says, a person who sits or votes in Parliament, knowing or having reasonable grounds for knowing that he is not entitled so to do, commits an offense, and shall be liable on conviction to such penalty as shall be prescribed by or under an act of Parliament. I have duly had consultation with the Honourable Majority Leader and the Honourable Minority Leader on this. Specifically Honourable Haruna Ibisu and Honourable Osechi Mensah Bonsu. And so the honourable member for Asino may elect or choose to cast his vote, but the consequences are entirely his. We shall accordingly proceed by mentioning the names in alphabetical order, and then the voting shall continue.
Abaka Samuel Erickson, Shaman.
So that's a major development there, a major development. This definitely is the clerk changing his earlier position. His earlier position on the Asin MP was that he cannot participate in the process. He will recognize him. Now he says he's leaving it to him to decide what to do. Muntaka Mubarak has taken the ballot box away. I have no idea why he's taking the ballot box away, but he's taking the ballot box away, and that has started another round of disagreement. But why? What could possibly be the reason why you take the ballot box away?
So I mean, Evans, earlier when I went up, what I heard was that when the first person was called to vote, he showed his vote to the leadership bench of the NPP. I don't know what may have happened.
Okay.
But certainly, the process must go on.
Yeah.
If you have concerns, you raise them without picking the ballot box. That's what I believe in, because once you pick the ballot box, it leads to a whole back and forth, as you can see right now. And then the whole process has to start all over again. We've come back from election 2020. The last thing you want to see is our elected members of parliament doing this. How different is this from ballot box snatching?
Absolutely.
It's obvious to me that what happened was that name, they called an MP's name, and it's possible that the MP might have shown who she voted for, and that would have triggered the decision by Muntaka to lift the ballot box. But lifting the ballot box is an illegal act in itself.
Yes.
Exactly.
Showing who you voted for is against the standing order in the Constitution. True. But it's a person's right, as we've explained all the time, to forgo that right to keep it secret.
My disappointment is the fact that these indisciplined acts is being led by people in leadership.
Yeah.
And so obviously, if leadership are showing this kind of attitude, what do we expect from the backbenchers? So clearly,
and now I sympathize with the clerk. So what is he expecting the clerk to do in this matter?
Exactly.
If the person decides to show his vote, what should the clerk do? Did the clerk to say the person is disqualified, or?
Because the man was called, he's going to cast his vote. We're just going to drop it in the ballot box, and then the ballot box has been taken away.
Reasoning must prevail, but it doesn't appear that there's any reasoning in the house right now. Anytime the process starts, this happens. This is almost the third time it's happened. The process starts, and then there's some commotion. But we're talking about the decision of the clerk to sort of backtrack when we say that decision.
So it looks like the MP-elects will now have to look at the consequences of the action that he is about to take. If he decides to go ahead and vote, he may be in violation of the court order, and which may come with punishment. He may as well decided to brush aside the court's directive and then go ahead and vote. So the consequences have been read to him.
Yeah.
It is now up to
make a decision. Now here's the thing. If he decides to go ahead and participate, when a court clearly says that he should not, it aggravates his matter if the court deems it to be a contempt. But also remember that the substantive matter he's accused of had landed another member of parliament elect in jail before, criminally, right? And we know that if he goes ahead to disregard the court, and this matter then comes up, and of course we expect definitely that Gary Nimako and Co. will tomorrow possibly, if the court is still sitting, go back to court and draw the court's attention and file and cite him for contempt of court, which upon summary, it's a summary conviction, can be put behind bars if he decides to vote tonight. And here's the thing though about it. It's actually possible that his vote might not really make much of a difference because the independent candidate is still there on the side of, and we understand that the independent candidate is seated behind Ambrose Derry, which means that he's actually taking his seat with the MPP. So it's possible that he may actually go ahead and risk it, risk contempt, risk imprisonment, cast his ballot, be sworn in, and they will still lose the vote and might go to jail. the permutations.
We're looking at the possibilities. And yes, I can understand where you're coming from. It could land him in jail. It could also be the case that eventually, I wouldn't want to hazard a guess here, but I'm just also looking at the fact that the clerk, according to him, has explained the consequence to him, the effect of what he's done to him. Now, there's a school of thought that argues that, well, if it was good for Techiman South to have a member of parliament, why should he be injuncted? Well, the High Court decided to injunct him. And so for that school of thought, they would say, look, allow the man to go and cast his vote. The court would decide, and while the court decide, what we all have heard on TV is that you know the effect of your action. The law has been read. And it said, if you do this, that's what will happen to you. He's decided to risk it. And so he's saying, I know the consequence of what I'm doing. I have decided to risk it. Well, it's still a matter in court. The substantive case hasn't been heard yet. I'd reserve my comments on that. But I am unhappy with what is happening. And I must state that what is happening here in Ghana's parliament, our leaders would lack the moral right to condemn people who do these things.
Exactly.
You lack the moral right because you are depicting it on television. Everybody's watching. You have a concern. Draw the attention. And it is the reason why we say there are processes to follow. So if Honorable Muntaka has a concern, fine. The clerk to Parliament, initially when he said he didn't recognize the Member of Parliament elect for Asin North, you took an issue with it. The clerk has done what he thinks is reasonable to say you can go ahead and vote. And that is to restore some bit of calmness in the House. The moment the clerk says you can go ahead and do this, that means, look, we can go ahead and vote. I have told you what could happen to you. You say you want to vote. I have spoken to the majority leader. I've spoken to the minority leader. They both say, no problem, go ahead and vote. And that's the consensus building in Parliament.
Right.
Once that is done, why do you go and lift a ballot box? Meanwhile, when we were voting in the referendum, did we not see all manner of people showing that they voted yes in this country?
Yeah.
Did we not do that? How different is the national voting from this?
The people voted and took pictures of it and put it on social media.
And I'd love to quote Samson Ladi Anyenini and Martin Kpe when we're having this conversation about secret voting and all of that. It is if I vote, for instance, and you, Evans Mensah, do anything that shows how I voted, but I have decided to show my vote. Let the person presiding here, the chairman, rule and say you cannot do that. But to lift the ballot box, then we go back to where we started. No. It's looking as if, there's an attempt to thwart the whole process. Report to the clerk, let the clerk deal with it. If he says you cannot do that, continue, so be it.
Yeah, as you see now, Muntaka has been calm. His other colleagues are trying to calm him down. The ballot box, by the way, is still not where it used to be. Well, listen, we expected this to happen, but this is
not to this scale.
Yeah, it has gotten out of hand, clearly. These are politicians who we know in the national elections sponsor people to, when they vote, bring proof that they voted for them.
Yeah.
Either in the primaries
or in the general elections.
It comes to Parliament, and because of that controversy surrounding the secret ballot, they can proceed. They won't allow them to proceed. Now, the question still remains, what should the clerk do in the circumstances such as this? I don't envy him. This is a difficult one. I mean, this is definitely a difficult one. If the person decides to show his ballot, there is no provision either in the constitution or the standing order that prescribes what happens with the person if that person does that. There's nothing.
There's nothing.
So it is one of those moot points that it's difficult to make a big deal of. That we all know it's not right. It should be secret, and yet members of parliament have decided that they will breach the law. They will breach their own standing orders, and as a result of that, the process is stalling. We are almost at 3:30 a.m. and they've not cast any ballot yet. I mean, a few of them names have been mentioned, but we don't know yet where this is going. If you're just joining us, of course, that's where we are with the process in Parliament to elect the Speaker. 2 names have come up, have been nominated, seconded and approved. They are on the ballot now, Professor Michael Quay and also the member of, former member of Parliament from Nandelo Kalo, Alban Babe, who are both going to be on the ballot, but are on the ballot, in fact. The voting started 3 times and have all been disrupted, which is what we're all seeing on our screens right now because of concerns of members of parliament disclosing their preference. Their preferences of who they voted for. The procedure says it has to be by secret ballot. Now, another key development, if you're just joining us, is that the clerk to parliament. The clerk to parliament has made something of a U-turn. Initially, when he had received the orders of the High Court, injuncting the member of parliament for Asen North from participating in the process, he said he would not recognize him because the court restrains him from carrying himself out as an MP. As it turns out right now, after consultations, it says, with the minority and majority leaders, the NDC and NPP leaders, he has decided that he will leave the fate of the member of parliament in his own hands. He should decide to vote and be sworn in at his own peril, so to speak, because of course he believes that will carry consequences with the court once he does that. And so we are waiting to see. That's another thing we're waiting to see, whether he would go ahead to participate in the process against the clear orders of the court. That's where we are. I wanted to listen in a bit to the sights, to the sounds of the parliament, which is in total disarray right now. Nothing is happening because they can't agree on whether or not to respect the constitution and their own standing orders when it says the voting shall be by secret ballot.
Sit down, please. When I talk, I'm for
secret
peace.
Ballot to secret ballot.
What trust? Yeah, the best figure. Yeah, but you are trust. You won't feel
it's enough. That's all. You can't get everything 100%. You can't.
Madam, what transfer? Obia was a one transfer. That's right. Obia was a one transfer. Yeah, what can you buy this? Obia was one transfer. I'm over busy. Yeah. Yeah, si wɔ no fɛkɔsi fiefie hɔ no chairman Mr. Chairman baby abi yɛn nyinaa kwatena ase obiara ntena ase yɛn nyinaa kwatena ase mala wadi ebio ayi yɛ ka no le ɛda kwatena ase bɛ yɛn start here mala who the tena ase no obia
So we are now looking at the possibility that the process will resume shortly. It appears that the calm is being restored again. This will be the third time they've tried to restore calm, and the process has degenerated right after. But in the meantime, I can't see the ballot box. The ballot box that Muntaka took away. I can't see it. I don't know where it is, but I don't know where it's been positioned. But it's anybody see the ballot box? Okay, I understand it's another coat of arms. So this will be between the two voting booths, and right behind where the clerk are seated. There. Okay. So I guess. What? So the NDC side had insisted that okay, as our camera pans in now, we're getting the closer look at that ballot box that is there, right under the coat of arms. Now, this contest is about whether or not to keep and respect the terms of the Constitution, understanding of, as we says, make the votes a secret ballot. Now, of course, it's a secret ballot. It has to be kept a secret ballot. But it has been violated from what we are watching by some members of the MPP side, which has angered the NDC side, obviously, who are insisting that shouldn't happen. But the key question that still remains is, who enforces that? The clerk in the House obviously cannot enforce it because there's no prescription.
The mention of the names in alphabetical order. There are two commissions. Where is the first order?
Choice of speaker on the list and cast the ballot.
There are two ballot collection points, one here, one at the other side. So your name will be mentioned and then you proceed to come for your ballot paper. Thank you.
Shama. Abaka Samuel Erickson, Shaman. Abdullahi Jacob Idris, Sabalugu. Abdullahi Abanga Binduri.
Abdullahi Jacob, second one.
Watch this. The ballot box has been snatched away. There's a oh wow! The John Junapo has kicked the ballot box. They have now destroyed the voting booths. This is just undescribable. I mean, what just happened there is the process now just completely out of order. I can't find the words to describe what I've just witnessed. In essence, let me try and compose my words. In essence, voting started. It appeared that whoever cast his ballot the last may have breached the secret balloting procedure, and the NDC members had moved up to where the ballot box was, led by Muntaka Mubarak and a few of the other NDC members. There was a struggle over the ballot box, and I saw the marshals trying to save the ballot box. Eventually, somebody grabbed the ballot box and ran away. In the process, they were pushing and shoving. The voting booths were then kicked and completely been torn a shred now. I saw John Junapo kicking the ballot box whilst on the floor. In fact, I see his brother, Abu Junapo, in the midst there. He's in the suit. That's Abu Junapo on the other end, trying to calm things. I see now that they brought back
the voting booth.
They brought back the voting booth that had been kicked all over on the floor back now. But it still looks pretty broken up. They have to find a way of rearranging it now. The police officer, I see a police officer now who has stepped in to try and calm tensions. Now, look, at this moment, I give up.
Well, at this moment, it's become a disgrace.
It's a disgrace.
It is. Look, I don't know what to say again. I think I've said everything there is to be said. This is not what is expected of our democracy after 28 years of practicing democracy. This is supposed to be the 8th parliament of the Republic of Ghana. And if we see ourselves as the beacon of democracy in Africa,
this is shameful. This
is
absolutely shameful. Both sides, I must be said, are wrong. Both sides are wrong on the matter. Your standing orders are categorical that this should be by secret ballot. It's simple as that.
Simple.
And it goes ahead to prescribe how to even fold your ballots, prevent another person from seeing it. Once you show that you are disrespecting, violating your own standing orders in the House. Now, that's one condemnable act. The second condemnable act is for the other side to take the law into their hands, rush on the ballot box, attempt to seize and snatch it, destroy public property, as in the voting booth that has been set up, kick it, and destroyed. And this is happening in the chamber. In the chamber of parliament. This is really shameful. It's I just run off the words to describe this. This is the fourth time this has happened, but this is the worst of the fourth.
Exactly, and at this point, I think that the clerk should also bring some bit of order there. Now, if based on his understanding, they're not supposed to show it, he should firmly state that and ensure that any member who does so be punished. That is, if the standing orders, I haven't seen the punishment that it prescribes, but it's what I just said, it shall be by secret balloting, and that's how you go about it. But I've always insisted, and I repeat that point, which I believe, if there's anything untoward about an election, you do not go, you complain to whoever is in charge of the election. The moment you take the law into your own hands, and I take the law into my own hands, what happens is that we resort to violence. Yeah. It is the reason why we have, mechanisms for complaining about an electoral process. So you don't take the law into your hands and say, I won't let this go on like that. Another person also says, I would not let that happen. And then it becomes you and I fighting because both of us say we shall not agree to allow the process to continue. And so this is Parliament. Can these persons go to their constituencies and advise people on a violent-free election?
Yeah, listen, at this moment, just look at that. We have the marshals, 2 marshals, and the police officer.
Protecting the ballots.
Protecting the ballots. The ballot box.
The ballot box.
The gentleman there is holding the ballot box as if his very life depends on it because, why? From a member of parliament.
Right.
A legislator. You are protecting a ballot box from a legislator. These are the same people who, when in the national elections, they complain that somebody has snatched a ballot box. Right? And we see them in our short rushing to snatch a ballot box because somebody had breached the standing order or the constitution, and then they also decide that I also want to break the law by taking it into my own hands. This is a lawless chamber of lawmaking.
Evans.
Exactly. I agree with you.
It's a completely lawless chamber of lawmakers.
I'm totally embarrassed. The level of indiscipline exhibited this morning is totally unacceptable. Members of Parliament, they go by the title of honorable, and this is the behavior you are putting up on national TV. This is shameful. This is shameful.
This is shameful, and I see on social media that people are just appalled at what is happening right now. This is shameful. These are the people we voted for.
Yeah.
To represent us. These are the people, the quality of people we voted for is on display for us. And here I hear people say to us all the time when we had 137, 137, and the Ghanaian people voted for them too because we wanted to show that they are acrimony, we don't like their acrimony, go and work together. Yes. This is really what is going to transpire. Yeah. This is the tip of the iceberg. The quality of people that we put in this house, this is what they do in our name. We send them when persons have done something far less than this in national elections, swift consequences come. Who is going to sanction, first of all, this MPP person who violated the clause that says basically ballot, and who is going to hold and sanction the many MPs who rushed on the ballot box and kicked public property? From what I understand, the polling booths are part of the Electoral Commission booths.
Yes.
Right? So they are public property. Nobody has a right to destroy. Even if you believe something wrong has happened, you cannot take the law into your own hands.
I remember some time back, this same parliament, not this parliament, but this parliament of Ghana, someone, Professor Dodo of the Standards Authority, for suggesting that members of parliament were ignorant. And he had to come and answer, otherwise he was going to be charged.
Yeah.
And this is the behavior we are seeing on national television.
Yeah.
Kicking ballot box, fighting with parliamentary marshals.
No, I mean, look at that.
It started
Look at
again.
that. Now look, there is another fight happening.
Yeah.
Somebody has just kicked somebody. I mean, this is Parliament. A member of Parliament has been whisked away. I see a police officer has stepped in now. Oh, this is
That's Stephen Amwa.
This is Stephen Amwa. This is Stephen Amwa. Stephen Amwa is
The member of Parliament, Maslog.
Yeah.
Member of Parliament elect for Inshias in the Ashanti region. And
almost got into a fight now, and a police officer is escorting him back onto the floor. Katie Hammond is also there trying to intervene in the matter. Can you imagine who is trying to make peace there? Kennedy Japan.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that Kennedy Japan is the peacemaker? He is been all along. To be fair to him,
he's been very quiet.
To be fair to him, all evening,
he's been very quiet.
He's been trying to make peace. In one of the instances, we went to John Jinapo and tapped him and moved him away from the chaos. Goodness me, this is just completely shameful. And every single member of Parliament in the House should bow their head in shame.
Everybody.
Every single. Their kids, their children will wake up and see the videos of their father, going, not taking clear instructions, violating the secret ballot regulations, and another will see their father rushing onto the ballot box and kicking items. They should be ashamed of what has just transpired on the floor of Parliament right now. And again, listen, nobody knows if this process is going to start again.
Yeah.
Because I don't really see how the MPP side will go through the entire 130
without showing their ballots. It will happen.
Without showing their ballots. Listen, I
expect the leadership to show some kind of authority here, but even they themselves are the ones who are, instigating their own members to undertake this unlawful enterprise.
Now, but here's the thing. Chairman Sabongsu, I expect more from Chairman Sabongsu.
Yeah.
He should instruct his people to keep this secret. As simple as that.
Simple as that.
Respect.
If you trust, you've spoken to your people, you trust them, you believe that they will go according to what you've told them to do. Why are you now asking them to show the ballot? And it is in the place of the NDC MPs to also become physical and take the laws in their own hand because someone decided to go against the law. Why is the clerk not ruling those ballots as invalid? If showing the ballot becomes an illegal activity.
Yeah. This is pretty shameful. Listen, I want to read a few of the social media messages. Sam Saidini says, Clerk, did he prepare for this job? I doubt if he did, Samson. And I see a lot more people commenting on what is happening on the floor right now. I'll be sharing a few with you. Nathan says, lawless lawmakers. Yeah, of course. Lawless lawmakers indeed. Pretty shameful stuff. Kent says, it's a shame. How did we get here, Kent? Kent is asking on Facebook.
It's terrible. Now they've brought in military officers, fully armed, into the Chamber of Parliament. I don't know how this is going to end, but this is an invasion of the Chamber of Parliament.
This is only going to make this worse. Whoever brought in the military men, and I can't even tell if they are actually military men, whoever brought in these uniform-wearing individuals into the chamber has done a great.
But Evans, if members of Parliament have decided to misbehave, what is the best way out?
No, the best way out, the best is to bring the police. Because But where we at the point where we needed Wixon, where we at the point where we needed soldiers in the chamber.
Evans, to put it bluntly, and
we say, hold on. What we are seeing now is
they are pushing the military men away.
Military men, I don't know whether they're military men, but they are in fully armed fatigue, are now being pushed away by the members of parliament. There's a huge fight now between the members of parliament and these armed individuals who walked into the chamber of parliament. I see Muntaka Mubarak in a scuffle. Some of these individuals who walked in, and I'm calling them individuals because it doesn't appear to me that these are military uniforms. It looks like military uniforms. It looks like it could be the special forces. It could be the special arm of the police, the counter-terrorism unit. I don't know what it is, but well, it's military. Is it? Is it military? Well, security officers. Call them security officers. I mean, these security officers who are in the chamber, fully armed, some in uniforms that looks like military, are now being pushed away by the members of parliament. This has completely degenerated entire proceedings in the House.
The problem is that
this is really unprecedented.
They have entered with arms.
They're
armed.
Yeah, they're armed, yes.
They're armed. You can see that they're armed. And certainly, that is not what we want to see.
My question is this a justifiable escalation to bring in military, well-armed military into the chamber of parliament?
The police must deal with this.
The police must deal with this.
There's a unit here in parliament.
Yes.
And they should be allowed to deal with it. But you know what?
Okay, so here we are. This look at proper military. This looks military.
I think there should be a way out of this.
Everyone should sit down. The military will go away. Everyone should sit down. Everyone should sit down. All of you.
Can you imagine that we have armed military in the chamber of parliament to protect a ballot box from members of parliament?
Just one ballot box.
Just one ballot box.
Sit down. Take your seat. Everyone should take his seat or her seat.
Okay, so we have a mixture of police and military now.
Right.
A mixture of police and military in the House, fully armed. Here's the thing: the Parliament has a marshals, and then the Parliament has police. They have a police station.
Take your seats.
The question must be asked:
take your seats. Why should we take
the marshals and the police?
Why take our seats?
Rather be dealing with this.
Why take
and
our
not
seats?
the military.
This is Parliament House. The military. Take your seats. Military and the military personnel will go away. What is military doing in Parliament House?
In a way, you know.
They are here. This military Parliament House. This is wrong.
Yeah.
This is.
The last time I'm going to say, I'm not going to comment about this. I think this is a sad thing. This is Parliament House we're in.
Yeah. No, I mean, Elton, I don't know what you make of this. No, but here's the thing. At the point where we were, nothing was happening. Nothing was happening.
They were just about taking their seats for the exercise to restart. And now...
With all I will and might forevermore. God bless our homeland, Ghana. Make our nation great and strong. actions are tantamount to an attack on the democracy of our country. Your actions are tantamount to a coup d'etat. And we shall oppose you in defense of the Constitution.
A military must be out.
So here we are, a short few minutes ago, fully armed military men stormed the Chamber of Parliament. Yes, Ghana's Chamber of Parliament. Fully armed military men stormed the chamber, entered the chamber, walked in, marched in, and took positions around the entire area where the Speaker's chair is, presumably to protect the ballot box. Now, there is resistance now from the NDC side of the House. They attempted to use their numbers to force the military men out. They obviously haven't succeeded in that. They are now standing and chanting, singing the national anthem and other patriotic songs. Where we are now, I see that some of the armed military men, plus a few police officers also who are fully armed, some of them with mask face covers, are protecting the single ballot box, which has been in contention since the night began, almost 2 hours ago now. Wingsing, I'm making the point. I believe the way to solve this was not to call in armed military to the chamber floor. That's not, if you wanted to escalate this is what you do.
Exactly, Evans. And information I'm just getting is that the Chief Justice has been escorted out of the House. What that means is that even if a Speaker is elected, you'd have to wait
for him to come
in and swear the Speaker. It is also an indication of how long we may go today. Look, I agree with you perfectly. What we're experiencing, what you don't need to do is exactly what we're doing. Because the moment you bring in the military, armed military for that matter, and they're singing and help us to resist oppressors' rule. Because anybody at that moment would see this as an abuse of executive power just to get people to kowtow. And that, for me, I mean, we've talked about how the attitude of these members of parliament is not the best. However, you don't need armed military men. And Evans, for the last time, I am not going to talk about this because I feel ashamed. It's a sad day for our democracy today as a Ghanaian. I mean, for once we thought we were going to do something better, and we had all laughed over what happened in the US and had said they should watch our example. This is the example. This is the information we're sending out there.
Yeah. I mean, so that's what we're seeing there unfold. Let's listen into the sights and sounds of what is unfolding.
Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay. Revolution has a long way to go.
So if you're listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM, let me give you a sense of what we are seeing on the floor of Parliament. If you're watching us on TV, you see all this unfold now. The House is currently at a stalemate. It appears to me that the armed military men have now left the chamber. And as I've said, that was the only way to resolve this particular matter. I actually believe it was uncalled for and unnecessary to bring in the armed military men to the floor of the House. Nothing had happened there. Of course, there were chaos, there were movement and pushing of ballot boxes, etc. But there were policemen and the marshals who had dealt with that situation. It had not escalated to a point where military men were needed on the floor of Parliament. And as we saw, it degenerated. They had left, and we still have the marshals there doing their jobs. They've been doing a job well until the military men entered onto the floor. And now that they've left, it appears the calm has been restored. Members of Parliament are taking their seats again, and possibly this process will begin again. Now, what has stalled this? What has stalled this fundamentally are members of Parliament on the MPP side consistently breaking the regulation surrounding the secret ballot, which, by the way, I must say, is in their own standing order, which prescribes that the vote for the Speaker, if two people are nominated, shall be by secret ballot. It doesn't leave room for people to be breaking that rule and showing who they're voting for. But that is what we have seen play out today, for which reason we've seen how both sides of the divide have fought right. And you can see in your shot there the ballot box in question, which has been protected by one police officer, in fact 2 police officers and 3 marshals of Parliament. Just a single ballot box has become a key issue. Now, this is what has stalled the process in Parliament, which again has become a major issue of contention. It's one of those things that has left many on social media condemning the procedure and the actions of the members of Parliament, when you have a clear rule that they themselves had put together to govern their affairs and will not be respected by themselves, which is the secret ballot. And then once that violation had happened, you have another group, which is the NDC group, also then deciding to take the matter into their own hands and destroy public property. As we speak now, one of the voting booths appears to have been completely destroyed and hasn't been rearranged yet. We just have one. There was 2. One has been restored. The other has been destroyed. So they are left with 1 voting booth and a ballot box, which also nearly got destroyed in the process. I saw Mr. John Jinapo kicking that ballot box on the floor whilst all this unfolded. Now, why this? Listen to what their standing order says. Where at any ballot between 2 candidates, this is the procedure for the election of the Speaker and of the Deputy Speaker, which is the subject in contention, right? It says an officer of the Parliament. I want to read the portions, the relevant portions on this, which has been violated and that's caused this commotion. It says, when nominations have been received, and clerk shall announce that the ballot will now be taken. And it says, an officer of the Parliament shall give to each member present a ballot paper on which the member may record his vote by writing the name of the person for whom he wishes to vote for. And it says a member can only vote for somebody who is, of course, been nominated. Each ballot paper shall be folded so that a name written on it cannot be seen. The ballot papers shall then be collected by an officer of the Parliament and counted at the table of the clerk. It shall be by secret ballot. A simple matter such as that is what has degenerated into the chaos, and that you cannot show your ballot to some other person. The MPP side is hell-bent on violating that process, and we've seen the NDC side objecting to that to the point where they've decided also to take the matter into their own hands. Both sides, we have repeated here, the actions of both sides are completely condemnable, and social media is reacting to this appropriately, condemning the actions they've seen of their members of parliament on the floor today. So we are, of course, so a few of the comments that Franklin Kujo says, who called in the fully armed military into the chamber of parliament. This is so unfortunate, and I agree with that view also, that wasn't needed on the floor of parliament, because it hasn't been something that definitely required that at that point. But of course, we've seen that play out. Intrado says, where are the lawyers? What's the constitutional protocol for military presence in the chamber of parliament? Well, we'll see and hear that.
I know that things have gone.
I want to go back to parliament now. Let's listen into the conversation.
But we need to listen to our leaders. Our leaders will confer, and then we'll get business going. Please bear with us.
They should just go and say that Magby should be the speaker, and then we go. Simple. Magby should be the speaker, then we go. This is NDC. The party form from revolution. Then you take the thing.